has expired. Senator Storer.
Thank you, Mr President. My question is to the Finance Minister, Mr Cormann. Senator Cormann. As the Minister will remember, Treasury Secretary John Fraser acknowledged in budget estimates that Treasury's estimates for the performance of the economy are subject to heightened uncertainty and to large error bands 3 or more years ahead. How then is it economically responsible to lock in now more than $120 billion worth of tax cuts in stages 2 and 3 of your package when they come into effect 4 and 6 years from now?
Minister for Finance, Senator Cormann.
Thank you very much, Mr President. Not only is it responsible, it is necessary because it is part of a plan for stronger growth and more jobs. This is part of a long-term plan for stronger growth, more jobs and better opportunity for working families around Australia to get ahead. What the Treasury Secretary, Mr Fraser, indicated during Senate estimates was that the government's economic forecasts reflected in the 2018-19 budget are prudent, are cautious, that they are in line with those economic forecasts of institutions like the Reserve Bank of Australia, independent. In fact, in some areas they're somewhat more prudent than those of the Reserve Bank, or indeed the International Monetary Fund. Now, what Mr Fraser did indicate, and it's of course all spelled out in the budget papers, there's always risk. There's always risk. I mean, if we walk out of this building and cross the road, there's risk. And we manage that risk by looking right and looking left to make sure we don't get hit by a car. And of course, what the government is doing, we are managing the risk. I mean, there's some things that are outside of our immediate control. What happens in the global economy, what happens with world prices for our key commodity exports, what happens in certain geopolitical matters is not something that is in our direct control. But because of that, and because we're an open trading economy, because we compete with other countries around the world, we need to ensure that at all times we are in the best possible position to be competitive internationally, that we provide the right incentives, the right encouragement, the right reward for effort to Australian families to get ahead, because that is how we generate stronger growth. And if individual Australians have the best possible incentive to get ahead, that leads to stronger growth across the economy in aggregate. As we have stronger growth across the economy in aggregate because we're addressing bracket creep, what happens is that low-income earners in particular have better opportunities to get into the jobs market, have better opportunities to work more hours and get more pay, have better opportunity to get ahead. Now that is the whole point of our plan for jobs and growth. We want to ensure that our agenda—
Senator Cormann, time for the answer has expired. Senator Storer, supplementary question.
Okay, if the economy undershoots Treasury's optimistic projections, the government has 3 options. Delay the introduction of stages 2 and 3 of the package, reduce spending on services like health and education that South Australians expect, or slow down overall debt repayment, which already costs $18 billion a year in interest. Don't Australians deserve to know the fate of stages 2 and 3 now if economic circumstances don't turn out the way the government hopes?
Senator Cormann.
Thank you very much, Mr President. Indeed, Australian working families do deserve to know the fate of stages 2 and 3. And the fate of stages 2 and 3 of our long-term plan for income tax relief is that it was legislated by the Senate in full today, because the Senate passed a judgment that it was in the best interest of working families across Australia to pass our long-term plan for income tax relief in full. And it's of course a central part of our plan to provide cost of living pressure relief to low and middle income earners, but also to address bracket creep, because addressing bracket creep, which is a drag on growth—
Senator Cormann. Senator Wong on a point of order.
Order, Mr President. The point of order is direct relevance. The question went to what is the government's plan in circumstances where the growth assumptions in the budget are not met. Those are the questions, and there were 3 options provided.
Yeah, there was a preface to the question and a question. I'm listening carefully, and I do consider the minister to be relevant. I will continue to listen carefully.
Well, just to assist Senator Wong, let me also just directly say I don't accept the premise of the question, which is that the assumptions are overly optimistic. They're not. The Treasury Secretary has clearly confirmed that they're prudent economic forecasts that are in line with other relevant institutions, independent institutions like the RBA and the IMF. But of course, everybody knows that the Labor Party will go to the next election with a promise for higher taxes. We'll go to the election for entrenching lower taxes.
Time for the answers expired. Senator Storer, final supplementary question.
Minister, are you suggesting that stages 2 and 3 are now locked in, whatever the state of the economy, 4 and 6 years from now?
Senator Cormann.
Thank you very much, Mr President. long-term plan for income tax relief for all working families across Australia has been legislated by the Senate today, and this is part of our plan to deliver a stronger economy into the future. This is a central part of our economic mission, which is to deliver stronger growth, more jobs and higher wages. If we want to have stronger growth, more jobs and higher wages, we need to, one important part of that is to ensure that hard-working Australians can keep more of their own money. Because if you take more and more money out of the pockets of Australians just because of inflation—
Order, Senator Cormann. Senator Cameron on a point of order.
Yeah, point of order on relevance. I think Senator Storer asked where the tax cuts locked in regardless of the state of the economy. He hasn't answered that issue.